Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you for your awesome support on Patreon, the Beast, Brock Taylor. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Midweek Mecha News. I am Luke Owen. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave a comment down below to answer today's question of today. What do you make of Eric Bischoff's firing from WWE? We've got a packed show of news for you today, including the real reason Eric Bischoff was fired from WWE after just a few months, Roman Reigns criticizing WWE's Hell in a Cell finish, and more details on the 2019 draft and various changes that have been made. And you can jump to any of those news stories right now. And make sure you give this channel a subscribe, as we've been told by SWAF Nation members that YouTube have randomly unsubscribed thousands of them from WrestleTalk. And let's be honest, we need as much help as we can with the ever-changing YouTube algorithm. So click subscribe and enable notifications to know when each video goes live. But first up, let's talk about Mike Kannllis, who asked for his release from WWE this week. Mike is on the list of several WWE guys and girls who have either publicly shown unhappiness with WWE or flat out asked for their release. But there is a question mark over the position of his real-life wife Maria Kannllis, who is currently involved in a storyline where she's getting ready to reveal the real father of Mike's child. At least I think that's still a storyline. It's been a while since we've had any form of an update from it. Well, Maria has now clarified her position, posting on Instagram that she supports her husband Mike, but has not requested her release from the company. Now, it is probably worth taking this with a pinch of salt, as Maria has often used social media to shoot down reports that end up being true. She denied all reports that she and Mike were leaving Impact, and then they left Impact and joined WWE, and she also denied reports that she and Mike were unhappy in WWE earlier this year, only for Mike to post on Twitter that he's unhappy with WWE and asked for his release. Mike and Maria were not part of the recent WWE draft, which saw Raw and Smackdown split into distinctive rosters once again, even though Crown Jewel features a Smackdown guy going for Raw's top title. Brand split, LOL. And it took less than 24 hours after the draft was finished for plans to change. The draft got off to a rough start on Friday Night Smackdown when WWE released a list of those eligible to be drafted, but accidentally posted the order in which they were going to be drafted. WrestleVotes reported on Twitter that WWE knew they'd made a blunder and were looking to shake things up on the Raw draft, including a blockbuster trade. And with SmackDown's Bray Wyatt vying to win Raw's Universal Championship from Raw's Seth Rollins, many figured Bray Wyatt would be jumping brands. But word is that Fox really want Bray on their Smackdown show, and it's now been revealed that the blockbuster trade is Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross jumping over to Smackdown as a tag team, only a few days removed from them being drafted to Raw as separate wrestlers and not a tag team. The move was announced on WWE's new Backstage show on FS1 by Triple H, who added that Raw would get considerations and draft picks down the line, whatever the hell that means. A few other names not on the draft this year were the Usos and Naomi, who we've not seen on WWE TV since the end of July, when Jonathan Fatu, aka Jimmy Uso, was arrested for the second time in 7 months, the latter of which being a DUI. The Usos and Naomi were all taken off the road from live events, and Dave Meltzer has reported via Figure 4 Online, while they were at recent television tapings backstage, there is right now no creative for them, nor a return date, nor a decision regarding which brand they'll be with. Because of that, they weren't involved in the draft. Maybe they could be drafted to Raw, which is in need of a ratings boost at the moment. In what will likely be unsurprising news to most, Raw dropped in the ratings after last week's show, which had the usual post-pay-per-view bump. However, this is pretty bad news for the company, as this edition of Raw was the second night of the highly publicized draft and featured Tyson Fury's contract signing with Braun Strowman. Overall, the show wasn't down massively, drawing 2.28 million, which is just 2.4% down from last week, but it is more damning in the detail. The show started off with 2.5 million viewers for hour 1, which dropped to 2.3 for hour 2, with only 2 million sticking around for the final hour, which was advertised to focus on Seth Rollins going fiend hunting against Bray Wyatt. So if you're keeping score, 500,000 viewers tuned out before the show's major storyline happened. Worse still, the 18 to 49 demo dropped 24% in men, 35% in teenage girls, and 34% in teenage boys, a drop that Dave Meltzer writes is pretty much unheard of. But what did you all think? Ollie Davis gave the show a rating of poor, and it was pretty split, as 40% of you agreed, while 34% thought the show was slightly better with average. Raw also saw 2 new matches announced for Crown Jewel, the Saudi Arabia show which has become so controversial that WWE have stopped announcing where the show takes place, meaning Crown Jewel literally hails from parts unknown. As mentioned earlier in this news episode, WWE announced that SmackDown's Bray Wyatt takes on Raw's Seth Rollins for Raw's Universal Championship, brand split LOL, and we're getting the largest tag team turmoil match to determine the World Cup for the best tag team in the world, or TLTTT MTD TWC FTBTT IW. Dang it. Or TLTTT MTD TWC FTBT. Or TLTTT MTD TWC FTB. I was there. Or TLTTT MTD. Or TLTTT MTD TWC FTBD. Dang it! Or TLTTT MTD T. Or TLTTT MTD TWC FTBTT ITW for short. Got that in one. However, it's being reported that one of the Crown Jewel matches might have changed. With the announcement of The Fiend versus Seth Rollins, the Universal Champion was set to pull double duty on the show, as he's also supposed to be part of Team Hogan along with Rusev and Ricochet as they take on Team Flair of Randy Orton, King Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Shinsuke Nakamura. That likely won't be the case, however, as Dave Meltzer is reporting that as of right now, Seth Rollins is no longer scheduled for the match, and his removal will likely be addressed on television over the next week. Speaking of pay-per-views, and this coming weekend sees Impact Wrestling present their biggest show of the year, Bound for Glory, which will see WrestleTalk favorite Sami Callihan go one-on-one with Brian Cage for the Impact World Championship. WrestleTalk.com's Louis Danger Dangor had the chance to sit down via Skype with both Callihan and Cage ahead of their match and asked them about the upcoming Tuesday night war between Impact, AEW Dark, and NWA Powerrr. Here's what they had to say.
I think 100% they're going to be one of the companies that people are talking about in 3 years. They're right on the cusp of something great, another huge boom for Impact Wrestling. And I think now that we have this platform at Access Television, the world's actually going to be able to see what we've been doing for the last year, because we've been having one of the most best wrestling programs on the planet today as far as storytelling, as far as action, as far as our roster. I put our roster up against any other roster in any other professional wrestling company around the world. And that was one of the reasons I actually signed with Impact Wrestling. I could have went other places a couple years ago, but I signed with Impact Wrestling because I wanted something on my resume that was special. I wanted to be one of the people that was at the forefront of changing Impact Wrestling and bringing it back to the promised land. I think I'm one of the people that's been doing exactly just that.
On that note, sort of the Wednesday night wars, do you think people are overlooking the Tuesday night wars, perhaps, between you guys obviously moving to Access later this month and NWA? Do you think maybe that's sort of a war to look at? I asked Sami Callihan earlier, and he said it wasn't a war because you demolished them, and it wouldn't even be competition. So, what's your views now?
I mean, I wouldn't say it yet because it's just now starting, so you don't have any idea of what to expect or what to take from them, and I didn't even know what they were doing or what was happening. I did just listen to an Eli Drake interview actually earlier today while I was in the gym, but and that's, speaking of them too, that's another company that's happening right now. So another, you named all the other companies earlier, that's another new channel, new network, new company, all starting all within the same month as well. So again, there's no limited supply of wrestling going around right now.
Let's hope that match has a more satisfying finish than Hell in a Cell, and it would seem that the company's top dog also thought it was Bobbins. We're now over a week removed from the dud finish to WWE's Hell in a Cell, where the unstoppable Fiend was stopped quite easily by Seth Rollins, who took him out with a sledgehammer, leading to a ref stoppage. And despite Seth Rollins taking the criticisms of the match personally by well-actuallying fans on Twitter, even though the smarter fans are criticizing the company who booked it and not the wrestlers in the match, it would appear that Roman Reigns was also not a fan of the finish. In an interview with Forbes, Reigns was asked about the fan reaction to the Hell in a Cell match, match, where he highlighted that some fans are wrongfully blaming Rollins and Wyatt when it had nothing to do with them, but also added, "I didn't like the Hell in a Cell finish either, but I wasn't about to cuss some guys out who got hit in the head over and over. Bray Wyatt put his health on the line to entertain some fans to the best of his ability. I didn't like it, but I respect Bray's effort and willingness to go out there and do what you have to do." You know, Roman really should have words with Seth Rollins about how to conduct yourself in interviews and on Twitter. We found out last week that Roman Reigns was drafted to Friday Night Smackdown. For now, at least. But he won't be seeing Eric Bischoff around those parts anymore. It was randomly announced a few months ago that WWE had hired Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff to be the executive directors of Raw and SmackDown. The move was reported to be because WWE had their investors call coming up and wanted some positive news to soften the bad news about the falling ratings and attendance by announcing the heads of ECW and WCW were getting involved in creative. But while there has been a lot of reports about Paul Heyman's fingerprints being all over Monday Night Raw, which has been evident since he started, SmackDown hasn't seen much of a change. Dave Meltzer reported this was because Bischoff wasn't actually involved in the creative process for SmackDown like Heyman was on Raw, and was more being a liaison between WWE and Fox. This was backed up by a lot of several reports, most recently WrestleVote, who noted it was Fox wanting Bray Wyatt and not Bischoff, with some even saying that Bischoff was only hired as a scapegoat in case the ratings for SmackDown on Fox were bad. And with the second week of SmackDown on Fox losing 1 million viewers, it was announced yesterday that Bischoff had been fired by WWE just 4 months after he was hired and moved his entire family to Connecticut to be closer to the company. He's now been replaced by Bruce Pritchard, a move that would appear to make sense, as Brian Alvarez of Figure 4 Online noted recently that Pritchard has been running the creative meetings for SmackDown for some time, despite Eric's title. Alvarez adds that those he's spoken to in WWE told him that Bischoff was barely doing anything on SmackDown. He said on Wrestling Observer Live, "The first thing I was told is, I haven't seen him, and he isn't there. Then I would hear, he shows up. Then I would hear, he shows up in catering. I don't know what he was doing, but I know he was doing enough that no one liked working under him. I've heard that people wanted to quit that were working under him. I heard that he didn't know anybody. He didn't know any of the talent. He didn't go out of his way to learn about anything. He would leave and no one could get hold of him. I heard literally zero good things about Eric Bischoff, whatever he was doing." And there are rumors of even more releases and shakeups coming to SmackDown in the Backstage area. And Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live, "Morale has not been good for a long time, but the morale has taken a bigger hit, I'm told. I had texts from people at WWE saying, I can't watch this show, I'll listen tomorrow to get your recap of it." Bischoff himself responded to the news in a very classy manner on Twitter, praising Pritchard, saying, "Bruce is a great producer, good friend, and I'm certain he's going to thrive in his position. He's going to be working with a great team of the most dedicated and hardworking people I have had the pleasure of working with and getting to know." What is the latest on CM Punk to WWE confirmed? Click the video on screen right now to find out, and check out the latest live episode of Screen Stalker by clicking the other video. Thank you to our Patreon pledge hammers, some of which you can see scrolling their way into my stomach. I've been Luke Owen, and that were wrestling.